Okay, let's find out more about the significance of this trial. Matthew Bergman is one of the plaintiff's lawyers in the social media addiction trial, also the founder of the Social Media Victims Law Center. Thanks for joining us. Landmark ruling. To what extent do you believe this will, in fact, be a landmark ruling?
Well, this is an inflection point in the effort over 4 years to hold social media companies accountable for the carnage that their platforms are inflicting on young people in the United States, in Canada, in Europe, and around the world.
So the jury is recommending Meta and YouTube pay an additional $3 million in punitive damages. As you heard from our reporter, some people find that surprisingly low. In Canada, we're used to seeing U.S. juries sometimes award huge punitive damage awards. Against such big tech companies, does $3 million really matter to them?
$3 million doesn't matter, but 3 million times 10,000 does. And there are thousands and thousands of families in the United States and in Canada who we represent, whose children have been injured and in many cases lost their lives through these dangerously defective, recklessly designed platforms. What was most compelling was the jury not only found that Meta and YouTube were negligent, but found that they acted with malice in putting their profits over the safety of our kids. This is a watershed in accountability. These companies had been able to avoid and evade accountability for decades, and the chickens have come home to roost. And there's a new sheriff in town, and his name is Mark Lanier.
I find your metaphors interesting. So what's next? Are we going to see dozens, hundreds, maybe more civil suits filed in courts across the country? What do you expect?
Well, we already have over 1,500 families who are seeking relief on behalf of their injured kids or their kids that have lost their lives. We hope that this ruling will inspire people who've been afraid to take on big tech, to give it a try. But let's make no mistake. These are difficult cases. They're challenging cases, and these companies have all the money in the world to fight them. So, this is the first battle of a very long war. We're very happy at the outcome. We're very gratified at the jury's careful deliberation, but we have no illusions that these companies are going to go away or go easily into the night. We're going to have to fight them every step of the way. But now we have even more inspiration to do that.
One of the outcomes of a trial like this, obviously, is with the damages going to the plaintiff, is trying to, address at least some of the harms to her with money. Also, maybe an element of vindication. But if all of these, if many, many cases follow, and 3 million plus another 3 million plus 4 million plus who knows what, 8 million, do you think it's going to change the way companies like Meta approach how they set up their social media platforms?
Well, I certainly hope so. These social media companies operate under a kind of immunity that no other company in the U.S. or Canada has. Thus far, moral persuasion doesn't seem to make any difference to them. Having their executives excoriated in the halls of Congress doesn't seem to make any difference to them. Having exposés in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and the Washington Post on what they know about what their platforms are doing to kids doesn't make a difference. What will make a difference is if you hit them in the pocketbook. If you make it more expensive for them to continue making dangerous platforms and dangerous social media apps than safe ones, that's what will change their behavior. So it is our hope and expectation that by continuing to impose on them the costs that their dangerous and reckless and maliciously designed platforms are imposing on kids, we will get their behavior to change. They're not listening to morality. They're not listening to embarrassment, but I think they will listen to the almighty dollar.
We have, as you know, a similar, but in some ways significantly different legal system in Canada than you have in the United States. And we'll be talking actually to a Canadian legal expert next hour. But did I hear you say that you have Canadian clients? What impact do you think these judgments will have on Canada?
Well, I represent several hundred Canadian clients in U.S. courts, and it is our hope that as these companies become accountable to the juries in the United States, that they will also become accountable to the people of Canada, people in the UK, and elsewhere, whose kids are equally being victimized by these outrageous, dangerous products.
So just one quick follow-up question. If the plaintiff is Canadian and some of the harms happened in Canada, they might still be able to go after these companies in U.S. courts?
Absolutely. I mean, these are U.S. companies. They're based in the United States. They're making profits in the United States based on the victimization of people in Canada. There's no reason why, if a person from Canada is willing to file a case in the United States, that their rights to justice are any less resolute and any less powerful and compelling than the rights to justice of any person.
Interesting. Matthew Bergman, founder of the Social Media Victims Law Center. Congratulations on this win, and thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you.